It's funny how life can take such unexpected turns, isn't it?
Yes, I'm still surprised you're hosting a cooking show.
Always, but guess what? I just found out who our guest today is, and seems like you already know him.
Yes, sure I do. I was once his student.
And now the professor will be teaching his student how to cook.
Yes, exactly. And our guest today is Professor Zoltan Buzady, an international expert in flow leadership.
At Corvinus University of Budapest.
Let's get started.
Nice to meet you, Professor. Nice to meet you.
Benim adım Zoltan Buzady.
Okay, Professor, welcome to our wonderful kitchen. Please tell us, are you excited to do this show?
Yes, I'm very excited, and I would like to tell you about the hat which I have now here.
Yes, we wanted to ask you about it.
This here on the front is the symbolic picture of a mythical historic bird which we Hungarians have. He's called the Turul bird, and it's very similar to the Kazakh mythology. You call it the Samruk.
Samruk.
So you can see that we're going to go back into all sorts of history, and I thought this hat is just perfect with this great show, great talk. It's a cook show.
We actually have a lot of ties between our nations, between our countries, and we can, discuss it later during our show.
Yes.
But now, please tell us what we're going to cook.
We're going to cook real Hungarian goulash.
Real.
Do you know what that is?
Of course, we're familiar with the concept of goulash, but please tell us more about Hungarian goulash.
The interesting thing is that Hungarian goulash is not what, but who. It is actually a person.
I see.
Goulash is a profession, we would call it in English, cowboy.
Wow.
It used to be the person looking after the cows, the cattle in the big steppe. We in Hungary have also a big steppe region, it's called the Puszta, and you can see this is another connection between the two nations. Actually, we have the same vegetation and we had a similar nomadic life for many centuries.
Yes,
so the goulash
exactly.
soup is an international soup. There is goulash eaten in Germany, where I grew up. It's also on your menus sometimes, but I thought this time we'll do a real one. Why? Because previous show master, cook Uli Shamiloglu, a great show. I recommend to see this and watch it. It's really good. He made Hungarian chicken paprikash.
Yes.
Great recipe also to cook, great conversation.
Yes.
And I thought I will bring this in.
So, what about ingredients? I see some pepper.
Yes. The ingredients are simple. This is a nomad dish, right?
Simple,
okay, it's Hungarian cowboy soup. We will prepare this time with veal because it cooks faster and it could also be beef. We will use onions, which we first pre-fry in oil until it's translucent. We have some here already, some. Later on, we will add a little bit the meat. It will boil and it will, without water, it will fry actually.
Yes.
Singe is the English word. On the cattle, we do it in a kazan on the fire. It has a little bit burnt aroma. It's very good.
Oh, wow.
And then we add some spices,
Yeah.
like we have red paprika from Hungary.
Of course.
Let us start. Let us start with what would be the first step?
The first step is to fry the onions and cut the onions in some pan. First step is to chop some onions.
Is it your favorite recipe? In terms of Hungarian?
Yes. As I told you, this is a recipe which is the most common. This is what men usually cook on weekends, and it's a great opportunity to get people together.
Okay.
So what we need now is some oil.
So, Professor, as we mentioned earlier, Ainur was once your student, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's a very interesting story.
Tell us about your
If you can bring it on.
Yes. So Ainur was one of the many great Kazakh students on the MBA program here in Astana. And you were very self-driven and self-motivated. And we use a simulation game about business psychology on flow, which is my area. And in this game, she took 150 business decisions and we measured her leadership skills profile. And you will be surprised to find out now, a few years later on, what her strengths are. What do you think were your strengths?
Yeah, I'm very curious about it.
I guess she always pursuing her goal, no matter what she does.
Yes.
Is it true?
Yes.
Am I right?
Exactly. I have printed it out, and I will give it to you also.
Yeah.
Her top leadership strength is long-term orientation. So I think what work you do now in your Silkway TV is about the long-term effects of your interviews you do. You feel this well, right?
Yes, I feel it that way. Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to ask you here, from at this point, you're like international expert in this flow leadership, in this particular leadership technique. I would call it like this. So tell us more about it, about this leadership, and about maybe Kazakhstan style leadership.
Yes.
What have you learned about it?
So if we stay with the skills, what is interesting for the viewers is that it is possible to measure skills and compare them internationally, and this is what I do through the simulation game called Fligby. So I have about 600-700 Kazakh managers now in the database, business people, national companies, smaller companies, and I can compare them, we can compare them to internationally 25,000 other managers. And what is the strength of Kazakh in general is fast decision making. At the same time, the skills which need to be most developed is information gathering.
Yes.
So this happens very often in my observation. Decisions are made, yeah, let's do this, we'll do that cooperation, and then they start to discover that the date is already booked, there is no budget for it. So first find out.
Quite enthusiastic.
Very enthusiastic. Yes.
We do before we think.
So we publish about this in international books now. I think I'm the first one to describe leadership style of Kazakhs in the Central Asian with my colleague.
Very interesting, especially here in Kazakhstan.
Yes.
Long awaited material.
For how long you've been working in Kazakhstan?
It's now almost 10 years. It's the 30th time that I come here.
30th time.
Yes, and I go to universities, businesses, big universities like brand names, but also small places like Kokshetau or Semei, Usk-Kamenogorsk.
So, what's going on here in our panel?
Well, this is now getting ready. We will add the meat, and it needs to be stirred very fastly because it needs to be a little bit singed, a little bit almost burned. I ask you to take this celeriac.
Celeriac.
This is very rare in Kazakhstan, but you can still get it.
Yeah.
It is the white root of this one.
Of celery.
Of celery, okay? Do you know anything, another special thing about Kazakhstan and Hungary, maybe related to diplomacy?
I know this one fact that the first owned embassy of Kazakhstan actually was in Budapest among all the countries, right?
Exactly. So we were the first ones to acknowledge your new nation as a republic, and therefore, for historic reasons, you invested actually the first time into Hungary by owning your own embassies in 1990. Yeah. So now comes the next important point. We removed from the heat the meat. It's very, 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 very important. And we take the Hungarian sweet paprika powder. After this, we put it back and we add some water. So now this will boil. Can you put this on medium heat, please?
You know, actually, I have an experience. I visited Hungary back in the years, actually 10 years ago. But and I tasted goulash soup, but nobody told me that it is like a cowboy soup.
Well, most Hungarians even don't know because it's so common, this goulash.
Yeah.
And they find it also funny when I translate it verbatim into English. But the profession of the goulash is to look after the horses. And this I also brought paprika. So you have all sorts of paprika in Kazakhstan also, but I wasn't sure whether you have this particularly aromatic type.
Yeah.
Okay? Again, it is not hot.
It's not
Okay,
hot.
so we will add it. And I will add also a tablespoon of caraway seeds. Sometimes it's also called cumin.
May I ask you, how differs your impression, like, from the first time visiting Kazakhstan and now, as you said, 30th time?
What I see as of the nation, I come across more and more well-educated middle generation people, as you are, who have already been maybe studying abroad.
Age, yeah.
Both of you studied internationally, but also those who did not study internationally here, many of them have the inner drive to succeed. And I really wish for your nation that you can keep those people in the future. Very often I'm asked, you know, can you find me a job in Hungary and Europe? And this is good for a certain period, maybe to get some professional skills. And many people I come across work not only in Europe, but maybe in Asian countries, Americans. But I think to be happy as a nation, you need to attract back and keep the people here with opportunities.
Yes, that's very important.
To bring the knowledge back to the country.
Yes.
And I think there is a lot of, you know, potential and an energy, right, is going on. And you've built, I think, a very strong networking here in this part of the world.
Well, I decided 10 years ago to have my impact on this nation. And why was this the case? When I saw it as a similar nation of transition between big nations, neighboring nations, as we are, between East and West. At that time it was Soviet Union, America, Europe, Germany. And at the same time you also had the deep historic individual culture which you want to maintain.
So in terms of relations between the countries, it's very important we discuss that. We start building our relations on individual level. But what about on the country level?
On the country level. What I can tell you from Hungary, we have an international scholarship scheme called Stipendium Hungaricum. This is an international scheme to attract students and scientists from countries which we want to have new partners with, and Central Asian countries are included.
Look at this.
I can't wait, to taste it already.
So we can add this 2/3 of this.
2/3 of this,
Yes,
right now.
and half of that. So now we can add.
What do we have here?
We will add the potatoes now. This will now cook, and it will take a while.
Okay, and while we're waiting for our goulash to be finally and fully cooked, let me share with you some interesting facts about Hungarian cuisine. Hungarian culinary traditions date back to ancient times, during the days of nomadic tribes. One dish from that era that has stood the test of time is tarhonia, small dried dough pieces that were easy to carry and cook over a fire in a kettle. Today, tarhonia is typically served as a side to spicy meat dishes. Paprikash is the second most popular Hungarian national dish, usually made with chicken. In the past, only older hens were used, as they made the dish heartier. Nowadays, younger chickens are more commonly used. The meat is fried and then simmered in a rich sour cream sauce. And of course, plenty of paprika is added to give the dish its signature flavor. Hungary produces 7 types of paprika with heat levels determined by the production method. The deeper the red, the sweeter the paprika. It has a sweet, mildly spicy aroma, with the flavors ranging from mild to fiery hot. Noble sweet paprika is one of the most commonly used varieties. Did you know how bread is connected to Hungary's independence? After the fall of the communist regime in 1989, bread once again took on symbolic significance in Hungary. The revival of traditional rye and corn bread baking became part of the country's effort to restore its national spirit and reclaim its cultural identity. During the Feast of Saint Stephen, Hungary's first king, celebrated on August 20th, a special tradition involves baking and distributing the new bread across the country. This act represents both the nation's renewal and independence. Okay, seems like our goulash is almost done, isn't it?
Yes. So the soup has boiled.
Almost, or it's done.
It is done. It is done.
Yeah.
It's boiled, and it can boil longer, and the meat will get more and more tender.
Yeah.
And the aroma in the room is good.
It's splendid.
Yes.
Great. So, dear gentlemen, I think we did a very great job today, and our next stop would be our dinner table where we can taste it.
Kettek.
Kettek. So let us switch to our most favorite and long-awaited part in the show, where we can try the dish that we prepared together.
Yes, I'm very curious if you like it. So this is the type of happiness. Is it better to eat or is it better to prepare?
Yeah.
Both are great. Okay.
Yes.
Enjoy your meal, as Bolsen.
Okay,
Thank
with
you,
your permission,
thank
thank you.
I feel the taste of the paprika, the pepper, and it's very, very authentic. What do you think?
It tastes very like familiar, like something homemade.
I'm so happy that you enjoyed being in my country also, as I do enjoy being here often.
Thank you very
And the
much.
food is something which connects nations, actually.
Yes,
So it's a great
yes.
show to have this silk way, cook and talk and cook. Probably this is more talk than I'm there. But
That is good,
now
yeah,
we need
yeah.
eat.
May I ask you one question? Off the camera, you mentioned one interesting fact, and it is related to our cultural exchange. I'll explain to our viewers. Here in Kazakhstan, we have our own music band, our own Beatles, Beach Boys. It's called Dos-Mukasan, and I know you've got a story related to Dos-Mukasan, right?
Yes, well, this Kazakh Beatles, the Dos-Mukasan, very few people know, but here I tell now also to you, is named after the event. In 1967, there was a socialist gathering of international youth. And students from my university at that time, it was called Karl Marx University. Karl Marx. They came to Almaty to the band, and the band had no name, and they said, you must have a name. What are you, friends? Yes, so they called themselves DOS. And Mukasan is the word put together from it. So most Kazakhs know the name meaning, but they don't know that it was created by Hungarian students of Karl Marx University.
With the
Amazing.
participation of Hungarian students. And I think this is a very good opportunity for us to tell you more about a little bit more about our cuisine, Dorian.
Yes, here you
If you
can
don't
find
mind.
something familiar to you. Actually, it's our national Kazakh sweets with a main ingredient in them called zhent. Zhent actually is grounded and baked millet mixed with sugar.
It's a cheesecake, but inside you also have these little ingredients like a millet. So it's, I think, I offer you to taste it
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
with your tea.
Thank you.
And I think before we let you go today, we want to present you some gifts from
Yes,
our
we've got
program.
one more present for you. Actually, it is. We appreciate you. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful guest. This is for you. Here
thank
you
you
can
very
find
much.
some also our sweets, and you can share it with your friends, with
Thank
your
you
family.
very much.
Yes.
I will have this with some good Kazakh tea, black tea with milk,
Black tea with
which
milk.
we call actually English tea with milk, but it is great also. I also have some small gifts for you and your staff in the background, because there are many people working here, not just us.
Oh, thank you. Yes, that's fantastic. Thank you again for taking part, for sharing your time with us today. And I think that's it for today. For more episodes of Talk and Cook TV show, you can follow us on our social media platforms and on Silkway TV channel. See you soon.